Concrete pastures.
That's right. Hello, family. Welcome back to Concrete Pastures. I am Nancy Sisi. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I am so excited to be here with our amazing guest. Guys, she is known for her resilience, trailblazing, and inspirational all around. I can't wait to introduce her to you. But thank you so much again for tuning in. We do not take it for granted. For anybody who is new here, this is a space where we highlight immigrant stories who have relocated to a different country in search of greener pastures. We share our stories, our various experiences, and lessons we've learned along the way, and offer new perspective on our journeys as immigrants. So whether you're currently an immigrant or soon or later to be immigrant or just curious, come along with us on this journey and let's get a better understanding of what it really means to be an immigrant. For those of you that have been with us for a long time and you haven't subscribed, come on. Subscribe, like, and share. And for those of you that are new, do not finish this video or even audio without subscribing. Share the content. We want to have amazing guests like our guest today. Her journey from a young refugee girl fleeing conflict in South Sudan to becoming the first international president of the University of Nairobi Students Association is inspirational. Despite facing challenges, loss, and societal pressures, Monicah has triumphed over diversity through unwavering determination, hard work, and commitment to education. In 2023, Monicah made history as the first ever international student to be elected president of the University of Nairobi Students Association. In this role, she advocates for increased financial support for students, including refugee students, and emphasizes the importance of kindness based on her own experiences of hostility and trauma. Monicah, welcome, my sister. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Guys, behind the scenes, I was apologizing to this young woman for her patience. This has been long in the making. We've been rescheduling for so long. And I'm so honored.
I think from last year, I don't know, or
yes, it's been a year. I think it's been a year. It's been a year. And I'm so grateful to Cynthia for this introduction. Cynthia is a journalist in Kenya. She was kind enough to introduce both of us because of the project I'm on. I want to make sure that we highlight all of the stories that matter in our community. And you being a refugee, it's important for you to give a voice to those that do not have a voice. So, for starters, you're joining me from Kenya, right?
Yes, it's in Nairobi, Kenya.
Oh, lovely. But we always start from the beginning. You're originally from South Sudan, and
Yes.
you fled there at the age of 12. What do you remember?
When I left South Sudan, the thing that never leaves my mind is when my dad cried, because he had told my auntie that I should not leave him. And leaving to Kenya, there is a perception that if young girls move to the camps, they get spoiled, they become bad girls, that kind of notion. So when my auntie said, because she's young and these the wars in South Sudan, the civil wars are not ending any soon, and the conflict will persist, we just have to take her to Kenya, to the refugee camp, whereby she can start her education. So back from my country, they believe that education is not for everyone else, and in any case, if anyone has to go to school, it has to be male, like female children. So in any case, I was brought along with my siblings so that I could take care of them as they school. So that's how I came. But then what I remember most, again, was living a life. I didn't know anything beyond the cattle camp, because I used to move with cattle animals from one place to another place in search for pasture and water. So I didn't know even there is another world that existed beyond what I knew. So then there were uncertainties of you're living this place, and I thought I would find a similar thing, but then I've been hearing, it's like it's not life around kettle again. It's a different thing. So, but then I was leaving my friends behind, my family, people I grew up from the time I was born, and now you're living your entire family, your mom, you're only living with your three siblings, you see. So that's what I remember most about it. And then, okay, one thing I liked is that I'll not be milking cows in the rain. When it's raining in the night, when I want to sleep, I have to milk cows. So, and chase up around the cows. That's
Mm,
one thing I remember. And thinking of, if I leave, I will not be milking cows again in the rain. Yeah,
mm.
but then I knew there was a piece of me that was remaining behind my mother, my father, my other elder siblings, and my relatives within me, so who are staying with me. So that's what I remember most about being in South Sudan.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. What are some of the challenges that you might have faced leaving South Sudan and going to Kenya? And how did you overcome them?
From the time I left South Sudan, that day, we used a lorry.
What is a lorry?
Uh, yes, a lorry that delivers soda from Kenya to South Sudan. So it was coming back with empty crates of soda.
What is a lorry?
A trunk.
Oh, like a truck. Okay, okay, okay.
Yes. So then we used to sit on crates of soda.
Mm,
Yeah, so when the car is moving and the movement, the crates will like pinch you. So eh, that's that's how I traveled from South Sudan to Kenya to the refugee camp in Kakuma. And then when I joined school, I was the eldest in my class, and I only knew my mother tongue. That was Dinka. I only could speak Dinka. I could not speak Kiswahili and English, and you're joining school, and the language for communication and even writing is Kiswahili and English. So that was the other part that came out so difficult because I didn't even know how to write my own name. I'll just be in a class of people who are like who had been in school 3 years before me, because again, I felt like if I go for pre-unit, the other nursery part, it will be
mm.
hard for me. So what I did is I joined Standard One instead, and then will be tutored at home. So the transition from moving with kettles and catering for taking care of animals to education, that was the most difficult. Like, it was difficult, but then within a year I catch up with other students, and I could communicate Kiswahili and English. So hardly I could not construct sentences, but I could communicate with my friends. So I could not speak before people, but then with classmates I could write in the long run at the end of 1 year. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Wow. In terms of how you transitioned from not speaking Swahili and you're able to speak it within the year that you were there. I can't imagine. Were you going to
Actually,
school in South Sudan?
no, I've never been to a class in South Sudan.
Oh,
I
wow.
was never in school. I was never anywhere close to any school. So I remember even when I came in, that was the first time to be in a class in Kenya. And at the end of the year, I became number one with 535 marks, and became the most improved pupil of that year. So I remember being given free meals. There was a program for needy students. So the school head teacher said that I should be given free meals, so I will not pay lunch again. So I was given free meals for incredible improvement from number last to number one at the end of the year.
Oh, that's very impressive. And
Yeah.
that's amazing that at least they acknowledged your hard work in a way that they actually supported you with food. And that's encouraging, especially for someone who's going through a hard time. it's encouraging to even work harder because you want those rewards. As a young person, I
Yeah.
remember, rewards is what, because even my own kids, they want to be rewarded. They do something great, they want to be rewarded.
Yeah, of course, of course. That's
Um,
how things are.
oh wow, oh wow. Where is the camp in Kenya? Are you still in the camp, by the way?
Kakuma.
I'm sorry. Kakuma.
No, I'm now in Nairobi. I I moved to Eldoret with my family after 2 years and studied there. Yeah, and then came when I finished my high school was in Nakuru and
Mm-hmm.
my university was in Nairobi, so I had to come to Nairobi for
I
my
see.
university.
So your
Yeah.
parents came to join you now.
No, my mother is still in South Sudan. I lost my dad in 2019.
Oh, I'm so
I've
sorry.
never been to Kenya. Yeah, I've just been with relatives.
Oh, I see. I see. Oh, wow. So how did you manage to excel so fast? Like, what are some of the things that you were able to do? Because when you go through a hard time and so much of a shift, you are displaced from your own country and coming. So it's like, how do you manage? Because it's hard. Because even for international
Okay.
student adjusting and getting into academics, you have to have time to adjust.
I think the life I grew up from when I was born to 12 trained me, and it was a much more harder life.
Mhm.
And reading books, just sitting and reading wasn't hard for me.
Oh,
And
wow.
like moving, like after every 3 days, you're moving to a new location because the pasture and water is exhausted by the animals, by the cows. So you have to move from one place to the other. And
Mhm.
Maki, you're moving on barefoot, no clothes, so there was much that you're going through.
Yeah,
Okay, then it wasn't like suffering. It was just like a normal life that you were born with and grew up to the
that's
age
all
of
you
12.
knew. Yes, that's all you
Yeah,
knew.
that's all I knew, and I knew nothing beyond it. So when I came, of course, I was advised and was told that education, this is what education does. Teachers will always quote of how education is very important. And I had elder, like relatives who are ahead of me, those who are in their high schools and those in primary schools till towards the end of their primary school. So they will emphasize and they will come back with gifts after being number one or being the best in mathematics. So I felt like I should also be rewarded. I should do this because again, it is not like walking in the rain, not walking barefoot. It's not like
Mhm.
sleeping with cows. You can like they can step on you and all of that. So education, even like I usually tell myself, if I give birth to a child, I'll first take them to the cattle camp and take them to the villages for them to adapt to that life of hardship and they see the other part of the world how things are. Because again, all of us who move from the cattle camp to, if you find any South Sudanese who is successful today, most of them were raised in the cattle camp to a certain age and then they leave. One, they're very committed with their education, and number two, they're very consistent, very focused. So and that's one thing that helped me. And I remember my dad crying, so I was trying to remain a good girl and impressing my parents that
Mhm.
I am not going to be a bad girl. They were thinking about I'm in school, I'm studying. So I become number one. I do well in my academics. So they will be impressed. And actually they did. They got impressed and they said, okay, she's excelling in her academics. And now people started talking about education in South Sudan. People were like, when your child studies, they will be like John Garang. If your son studies, they will be like John Garang. Okay, they didn't have female figures to tell us about education, but they'll be like, a female person can do this when they are educated. And of course, they came now to interact with Juba, the city, and they saw how young women or young girls or women were driving cars and they were living life and they were providers, you see. So from there, um, my family was very supportive then, but then it was much more easier than where I left. Because, okay, it was more of simpler tasks
Mhm.
from what I left. Yeah.
I see. Wow. I mean, you're taking me back. I used to I think I learned this in school. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. Is this called nomadic life that you guys had?
Yes, nomadic life, yes.
Oh, okay.
Nomadic pastoralist, yes.
Yes. But I
Yeah.
remember learning that in school. I've never met anybody who's gone through that experience. So thank you for walking me through that.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you for walking us through that. I mean, for you being the first international student to be elected president of the University of Nairobi, could you walk us through how you became that? Because I think it's
Yeah, it's
impressive.
one of the interesting things. Yeah. I actually been having to think through why did I vie in the first place? What made me vie? What gave me the courage?
Huh.
And before I could go back to my leadership journey, I'll start. I won elections. The Secretary General in my team under me told me, Monica, you're like a devil. And I'm like, why? Said, how do you leave your own country, come to Kenya as a refugee, fleeing conflict, coming to Kenya, study, and come and convince me to be your SG and walk us to victory? You see?
Oh,
So he
wow.
said, you only can be compared to a devil who told Jesus to kneel down and worship him. Because again, how did you tell me and other Kenyans, and we all bowed down to worship you? Your difference with the devil, he said, is because we actually considered your demands. But then Jesus did not worship devil, but we worshipped you. Um, we bowed down and you became the president just immediately after I won elections. And if I reflect back on my leadership journey, it didn't start in the university. The thing that it was an impossibility, it seems like an impossibility while in the university.
Mhm.
Because when I was in primary school, I remember becoming the monitor for the 2 years, and then moved to being as it called when I joined class 6. Okay, I skipped class 4 to class 5, so I moved from 3 to 5. So within that year, I
Monica, when
didn't
I
do
tell
anything.
people
I was just,
about skipping school here, like skipping grades, they look at me very weird. They're like, skipping?
yeah,
I'm like, yes, if you're smart enough, they skip you grades. Some people are
yeah,
not
you,
so
you skip a grade.
familiar with skipping grades. It's just you gotta go
Yeah,
step
I
by
skipped
step.
the
I'm like, not in
P1.
Africa, we don't
Now,
do that.
yeah, we do that, and I did that for like the nursery, the 3 years, and now the class 4. I did not standard 4. I did not join, so I did them both with standard 5. So when in class 6, the head teacher came to class and said, "I want people are contesting for head girl." So it's usually for standard 7 and 8, but then I was there. I said, I want to buy. Like I was just jokingly saying it, but then he took my name and wrote my name and said, "You're vying. You're going to be among the contestants." I think we were five. Uh, Four were from class one was in class 8, another one were the two were in class 7, and then two of us I think were in class 6.
Mhm.
So we contested and I won for the first time. That was my first experience to go through elections, because the other one in class, you just raise your hand, who want to be the monitor, and you're given by your class teacher to be the monitor. But then actually, the first time I experienced elections was when I in class 6. But way back when I was in Sunday school, I was elected as the chairperson for Sunday school when I was in Sunday school. So I got voted in. I defeated a class 7 and a class 8. I remember even having very difficult time with class 7s and class 8s because, like, how do a class 6 become the head girl? How is she leading us and all of that? So from there,
So
I ruled the school.
let me ask you one thing, because when
Yes,
we listen to all over the world, some people don't understand what the head girl is. Do you mind just
head girl.
explaining what the duties of a head girl is in school?
Okay, like it's just like the head of students, like a student union or pupils union, like whereby now they have their own prefects in class, like you have your own class monitor or the head prefect of that class. I don't know what they call it in their part, but then from our end it's like the direct link between the students and the administration. So if there's
Yeah.
any issues affecting students, you're the one then to present them to the to the school, to the administration and say, this is what is happening. We don't like this. We want this as students, saying that. That's what I used to do there.
Thank you for
Yeah.
that. Thank you.
Okay, sorry for assuming that you know. So from becoming the head girl, actually the first international
Oh
student
no,
as well
I know.
to become.
I went to school in Zambia, so I know. It's just for other people
Oh,
that are listening outside of our African circle. It's just for them to
oh, nice.
understand. Yeah.
Okay, fine. That's good. So that's how I started my leadership, actually, coming to leading now, not people from my own tribe, like others, I will treat them like the Dinkas and all of that. But then now, this one I was leading the students, the pupils then. So I moved to high school, and in my first year, I said I'm not going to do leadership again because it exposes you to a lot of friction between the teachers. You want this, and the teachers want that. They feel like you're becoming a nuisance, you see. So I said when I joined high school, I'm not going to do anything leadership. I want to focus and study, get good grades, and get out of the high school and go to university. Difficulties came in there because I remember when I got 402 marks out of 500. And then from there, someone offered to pay my fees. But then when I finished my Form 1, he said that when I finished my high school, he'll marry me in return for having sponsored me through.
Oh wow.
So my first year in high school became very difficult. There were a lot of uncertainties around it. Should I accept this offer or should I just drop it? Or I just accept and in the long run refuse his demand for my hand in marriage? So a lot
How
of
old was
things
the
were
man?
happening in.
If you don't mind sharing.
And he was even married. I think he was around 35. I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So the first year in high school was difficult because then I'm being protected. Don't do this. You should not do this. I come send your results and all of that. So I felt like that's not what I wanted. I dropped I dropped his scholarship and told him I thought he was sponsoring me for having performed so well. And I will then take how's it called? I'll then go to a day school, and I found David Smith. David Smith is like my own dad. He's in Australia. He does almost everything for me because he sponsored me through my high school, and until to date we are still in contact. He treats me like his daughter. He gives me everything, and when I joined high school, then in Form 2, I became the deputy head girl. They nominated me, and I was
Just a little
vetted,
bit
and I
back.
won.
Monica, just a little bit back. How did you get connected to David?
I attended a conference in Eldoret, a church conference, and I made a presentation, and David said he liked the way I spoke. So he called me later, Monica, what can we do to you? But then I was still in high school, and there was scholarship for maybe to study about theology and Bible. But then I was still I didn't even have a passport. I was a refugee, so there is no way you could maybe take me to Australia for further study because he was a principal of a college, and they used to sponsor refugees. But then I told him, remember, he was supposed to give me a laptop. He was giving me a laptop, or was it an iPhone or an iPad or a laptop? But I told him I will not do anything with it. It will go to waste. The only thing you can help me with is take me to school, pay my fees. And he was like, Monica, we don't have such. We don't do. We don't sponsor high school students. We do nothing. There is no organization like such. But then when things got so difficult and I dropped the scholarship, I said I emailed him. Went to a cyber. I didn't even have a smartphone by 2017. So I went to a cyber and uh, wrote an email to him, and I told him that things are falling apart on my end and I have no one to sponsor me. After the crisis of 2013 from South Sudan, no one can sponsor you. I went through a lot of interviews with the best marks, but then I wasn't being successful. I wasn't being like taken in. I don't know, was it what there's a last moment like we saw that this is going to be a success. We are going to be nominated at the first because we had the highest marks. But then it turned out that we did not get nominated, shortlisted for the scholarship. So he said, okay, then I'll start paying your fees. So that's when we met with David, and that's how my journey with David has been. And it's such a long one as well because of
Thank
how the
God.
care, the love, and the support that he has been given me
Thank God.
since that time until now. Yeah. So I joined high school, and David supported me through for my high school. And I just said before I got nominated for the role of being the deputy head girl, and I got vetted by the teachers, and we went in for elections, and I won elections to be the deputy.
Nice.
So when I moved to my class, Form 3, I got elected in now to be the head girl. So I moved to university, and I said, okay, for me, I have nothing to do with politics. This is all for Kenyans. They can never elect. I just said maybe because I was in those schools, we were few and just 1,000 people, so it was easier. And the tribal, there was the high school politics were never tribal. Unlike in Kenya, here, in the university, they get even to political people are affiliated to political parties. You have your own people who support you from the government, and you have maybe if you're not a Luo or Akikuyu, you cannot be the president. You see, it has always been the trend. It is not a must. It's not written law, but then in all trends, you get a Luo or a Kikuyu being the president of the university. So I knew nothing, and then again, I am very aggressive and I'm very vocal at times. So I'm very firm in my decisions, and I'll question why you're not doing this. So like if I go to being a leader, a student leader in the on campus, I might end up not graduating because that's what I was told. If you become very vocal and you advocate for students, you will not graduate in the long run because they will not, maybe they'll look for you cases and they'll put for you. So like I want to be a lawyer. I want to study law, be a lawyer, and go back to my country and help people, help develop our legal system. So I just like going to class. After class, my place, reading, class. So in my second year, a lady who was the president before me came and said, Monica, I want you to vie in the position of international student. I want you to represent all international students at the University of Nairobi. And I told her, I'm not so much interested in politics. I have not prepared myself. I didn't prepare, like I'm not prepared mentally. But then she convinced me um, into becoming the international student representative. So we vied and we won in 2022, 2023 student union. We are leading the student union in that year. But then before elections on 25th of March, I remember saying, I'll become the next president because I went through the constitution and there was nothing of maybe if you're an international student, you cannot become a president. So I told the IEC chairperson, the independent electoral commission for the university. So he happened to be my professor who taught me property law. And I was always sitting in his class, engaging him, and he was like, Monica, even you were here in politics. I thought students who are active in class don't get active in politics. But I'm happy that you're here. And I told him, actually, I'm going to be the president. And I'll do this I say two things. I'll do this for my country, and I'll do this for the refugees so that we know we have the capabilities because we have been marginalized people. And South Sudan is the youngest nation. People know like there's nothing good that can come out of South Sudan. So just like, I'll do this for my country and the refugees. And then I forgot about it. But then when I was serving, we were about the student union has leaders about 100 students leading the student union from different faculties, different campuses. So I identified people who wanted to vie to be the president, and I felt like, hey, they will be stronger than I do. So I started approaching them, telling them that instead of me running, and they're all again my friends. So like, can you run to be the president, and I become your deputy? Can I become your secretary general in state, and you become the president? And all of them were reluctant. So one of these nights, I could not sleep. I was just thinking through, what do you need to be the president? What do you need to run a successful campaign to be the president? Yeah, you need finances, you need support, you have to travel around all the 13 campuses. We have one in Mombasa and Kisumu, and here in Nairobi, in other counties, University of Nairobi has 13 campuses. So I need finances. I need a very tight security during the time for campaigns. I need to constitute a team of 7, including myself. And they have to come from different backgrounds. They have to come from different campuses. Regional balance must be there. So all of these things were on me, and I was like, am I ready for the task? I was like, why am I giving myself the pressure? Why do I want to vie? This is only for Kenyans, it's only for Luos, it's only for Kikuyu. So how am I going to do it? So I also convinced myself, I gave it as a good reason as to why I should join someone team, but not in the position of representing international students, but any other position. But then they were like, Monicah, even if I have you in my team, I'm not yet decided. I don't know even if I should vie or not. And I told them then, join me, I become your president, and you become my SG, and you become my vice chairperson, and you become my treasurer. And then the reasons they were giving me, like, Monicah, you're a good leader. We have been serving with you, and we know your capabilities. But then you're a foreigner. You're a refugee. You see. So in all the approaches I made, this now gave me the energy to say, let me at least dare. I went to YouTube and I was just watching motivational speakers. And Sarah Jakes, I watched a video by Sarah Jakes and said there was a time his life was almost coming to a collapse, and she was like, everything was falling apart. But then she just said, it's all about daring moments, daring situations, daring like to dream. So I said, I'll dare dream to become the president of the university, even if I miss. I'll be the first ever to try.
Oh.
So I woke up that day and I was like, I'm heading in to be the president. And they're like, no one will vote you in. You're a refugee. A refugee and you're a foreigner from South Sudan. At least in Gekwa Maju. Like, okay, they were like, it could have been somewhere apart from South Sudan. It could be like maybe Tanzania. It could be like Uganda. It could be like even America, someone coming from US coming to stand out rulers, but not you from South Sudan, not you from the camp, from the refugee camp. What can you tell us? Can you go back to your own country and run? They all went to Twitter spaces. They were
Oh
on
my
all WhatsApp
goodness.
groups. They were on all social media. And I was just like campaigning. I just say like, let me do this. Let me do this. Let me just compose myself, block my ears and block my eyes from reading what people are saying. In any case, I should ignore if I see. So I started my campaigns. I started constituting my team. I'll interview. I now looked for people. I had 4 opponents. One was we were 6. We were 6. 2 from medical school. One from school of another one was from business and management science. One from medicine and surgery. Another one from pharmacy. We had a student vying from the faculty of business and management sciences. That was from science and technology. So we were constituting a team of 6. So what I did is I made sure that all my 60 members were like from those faculties that had opponents. I made sure that my faculty was locked up. There was no one vying for my faculty apart from me, because all of them were my classmates, and they're like, Monicah is enough for us, because I've been interacting with them. They know me from a personal level. So like, Monicah is enough for us. So no one else is vying in any other position of becoming maybe the president or the SG, Secretary General, or anything else. So my faculty was locked up, and even they had one team. They had 4 teams, but I told them, you can work better together if you constitute one team. Instead of all of you, one person will become a winner, and the rest of you get to lose. So all of you can constitute a team and work together. So from there, I went to medical school. I took a rival. There was students do rival. Like when it comes to politics, the rival. So I told them, I gave a specification of a student I want, must be a rival of the current candidate for presidency. And I was given a medical student by the name Castro. Castro, I gave him the position of being the Secretary General. I told him, again, it's a law. So he must be a law and a medical student, a rival of the current person vying for medical school, and who can constitute a team that will win, because there is the popular vote, but then you get to office by getting the high number of delegates. So I told him, I want you to constitute a team at the faculty, and this team must win elections at the faculty level, That's the only thing I require from you. So I take them for interview. I sell to them my manifestos, my agendas, who Monica is, what has been my leadership journey, where am I, what is my inspiration to become the president. And they tell me. I dropped a lot of them because again they didn't understand what they were going to do when you become maybe a secretary general. So I did a lot of interviews across campuses, but then I took one from medical school. My treasurer from my team was from engineering. She did engineering. She's doing civil engineering. I went to business management science. I took my vice from there. A person who was representing international students was from Faculty of Science and Technology from Congo. And the other one, a person with disability, came from law school with me. And then I had a student from where? Yes, there is a faculty that is 2-in-1. So they have two campuses, two faculties combined under one campus. So I took a student to represent sports and social welfare. So we constituted a team of 7, and then we started our campaign. I looked for bloggers who can do both on WhatsApp groups and who can do on Facebook and Twitter and other spaces. And they came up with a slogan that malethification of malethification of University of Nairobi. And it's ambassador. So there's this guy who will wake up in the middle of the night and says, happy 12 midnight from ambassador's time. It's ambassador's, it's good morning from ambassador. He'll wake up at 3 a.m. and everywhere in WhatsApp groups and on Twitter, they're like, it's ambassador's time, it's Ambassador Malith. Because when I was representing international students, they were like, I'm an ambassador. They'll be like, it's ambassador's time. Let's tune in and hear from ambassador. It's malethification of your end. So the blogging was good. The bloggers, I had like every campus, I had more than 10 bloggers.
Wow.
And I ran a successful campaign, and people were like abusing me. Kenyans were like, this is like a birthright to us. We cannot, how did University of Nairobi forget to exclude international students? It became the talk of parliament. People were like, what is this? A lady. Okay, there were many odds against me. Previously, I was in the incumbent leadership, representing international students.
Yeah.
Number 2, the previous president was a female, and now I'm coming in again as a female. She was from law school, and for the last consecutive 3 years, it has been law students leading the University of Nairobi. So they were like, no one will give her the position of being the president, and yet we had a president coming from law school. So they're like, she's a refugee. And above all, she's a foreigner, So all of these were the odds being said against me. But then I bonded with the faculties and students. I would just show up in places. I wake up at 5, started my campaign, going to campuses, taking breakfast with students from 6. I will walk I make sure that all campuses within the Nairobi, I go to all campuses. Until maybe 2 a.m. I come back home, 2 a.m., sleep for 3 hours, wake up, make phone calls to those vying at the campuses and bonded with them. I showed them what the don'ts and do's. We funded some of them because now my funding came in from people, well-wishers. They are my friends who sent me money. Others saw my posters online. They're like, even if you'll not get it, I'm just giving you my money for the courage. We know it's going to be difficult, I was having one student who was vying. All of us could not make it to the ballot. Only 3 teams made it to the ballot. We were 2 gentlemen, a medical student, an engineering, and then me as a lawyer. All of them were male. So there's no way. Well, they were starting from somewhere, like they're like, in all the delegates, I must have, maybe there might be 2 or 5, 6 Kalenjins, and I'm a Kalenjin. So they definitely take me as a Kalenjin. Another one's like, I'm from Coast, and we have students coming from Coast. I have Muslims, so they will take me in. But then here I was coming zero. I was coming into the ballot with zero votes. It was now my hard work, and it was now my convincing power to actually persuade them to see beyond the tribe, to see beyond the female in me, to see beyond the foreigner and the refugee, to see beyond being a law student, but then with an agenda to serve students. So I was sitting them down, letting them understand who I am, what my goals were, and my principles. Like when I was campaigning, I had 3 principles because in leadership, I felt like There are some of the basic things that we don't do. One of them was being the principle of integrity, inclusion, and innovation. Can we in dealing with students matters, can we deal with them with a lot of integrity, even when presenting them, when addressing the issues? Can we do them with a lot of integrity? Even when we're spending the resources, we're making a budget, we're doing this event, can we have integrity in service? And then can we include students? Can we sit down and say, this is what we want to do? How can we do it best? Because as a leader, I understand I might not be the most intelligent, but then I'm here to give a direction and say, okay, let's sit. How do we go about this? What is the best way to go about it? So I said it only can happen when you have inclusion. And then again, I've been in the system and I've seen that most of the student matters are not addressed. So like, can we come with innovative ideas on how to solve the problems that we have? Should we not do the ways that we know? So those were the principles that were guiding my campaign and even when I entered into office, those are the principles that will guide me. So actually students, like everyone was like, this girl ambassador, she's loaded, she has money. Okay, there's another notion in politics. If you have to play politics, you have to have like that perception that people know you have a lot of money. So it played to my advantage because people feared that in as much as she's a refugee, UN is giving her money, UNHCR has given her money to campaign. And also, like, South Sudan has oil, and the politicians have given her a lot of money. So she has oil money, she has the money from UNHCR,
Wow.
and as a refugee, Kenyans knows that I'm being paid to being a refugee, that I have a certain amount of money, allowances that I'm given to be as a refugee. So like this girl is loaded, so we will, okay, most of money goes to paying bills. Someone wants to meet you, and if you meet them without buying them drinks and food, they'll be like, you will better have made it online. You should have called me to a meeting on Zoom. Why are you bringing me here with no food and no drink? You
Wow.
see. So if you meet them in just any place, in the common places for students in the field, or in your hostel, they'll be like, this place is stuffy. It's not for meetings. This is your sleeping place. So you have to take them to restaurants. And these restaurants has bills. You have to pay a lot of bills. So the dynamics were very many. Okay, you have to also balance tribes. Major tribes have to be in certain positions. And when it came to now voting, the last night I was very exhausted. Like I was just feeling like I was falling apart. Like I didn't have me. Like it was just like I'm asking myself, why did I vie? Why did I vie? Like in the first place, why did I vie? A foreigner. Like I will just stay with any other, and I'll be like, I'll have an excuse to give. I've been a foreigner in Kenya. There's no one who has ever vied. Why did I even actually vie? So
Mm.
those questions I was not answering them because there was a lot of things clouding my mind. But then I went in, I came back. I woke up that day at 3. I didn't even sleep because in my small, tiny space, I brought in all my campaigners, other students, the team members, because again, there are no restaurants. So I buy things. It was cheaper to buy things and we cook in my house and eat and sleep, like others sleeping on the couches, others on the bed, even 4 or 5 people, no matter how small it is, so we'll just sleep there. And then the last night I said, okay, fine. Um, uh, um, it's now the elections tomorrow to be elected now. We have 39 delegates. And people are like, even they have now gone to, like Twitter now became very hot. People are just sending me screenshots in WhatsApp group. Like we have common WhatsApp group for the entire university. So I was in all those groups to see what was happening. Like, she's just a foreigner. Why will you vote a foreigner?
You
They
were
went
looking
into
at
made a
messages.
declaration.
At that point, I was
Yeah, the messages on
looking at
WhatsApp, people will get
messages.
me and abuse me. And like, and I'm like, okay, they went to make a declaration that we cannot give a foreigner who is a female from South Sudan to lead us. So
Oh
we,
my
all of us,
God.
must vote in our fellow Kenyan. They they made their declaration that we are going to vote in the medical student instead of Monica. But then students, I had worked with them. I had walked a journey with them. From even those who were discouraged, there was those minor tribes, and they're like, Monica, since you vied as a foreigner, it has given me a courage from a minority tribe in Kenya to vie, you see. So I'll tell
Mm.
them, why am I vying from South Sudan? And you just say you're a Kenyan. You have
Mm.
the same ID with them. You're like the same nationality. Why will you fear because you're coming from Turkana? While you fear because you're a Maasai, you can vie. So most of them were vying, and I became an inspiration to most of the people who vied and who didn't believe in themselves. I actually made the sense of what I again emphasize is, even if you don't make it to be the maybe whichever the position you want in this year's elections, one thing that is very sure is you'll have made connections. Like in my case, I will have had known students from medical school, students from the faculty of education. I know someone from business. I know someone from engineering. And all these campuses, all these disciplines that we have under University of Nairobi, I know one or two or three people from those campuses, and that is already like a rich network for me. So it must not be that I make it to be the president, but then I have made all these connections. And I told them, you should also see it as a way of networking and practicing being a leader and what it feels or what campaigns look like, because University of Nairobi is more than even some of the counties, has more people than some of the constituencies. So it's just like, okay, fine. The campus elections took place on Friday, and teams won. These teams are calling me. We book a hotel for them. They will sleep, eat breakfast, take dinner and breakfast, and you have to ferry them from the hotel to where the venue for elections. So we did all of that, and when elections were like now, we did our final summary of our manifesto, calling now people to vote us in. And I got elected in to be the president with 25 out of 39. So the number 3 guy from medical school had 8 votes, and the engineering student had 6, and I became the president with 25. So a difference of about 11 votes. And I told them, even if you merge the last day, even if you merge to be one team, I'll still defeat you with about 11 votes. And that has been the journey of my leadership. What inspired me, I felt what inspired me is one, I'm a normal student like any other. And the requirement for being the president of the student union is that you have to be a bona fide student of the university. How do you become a bona fide student? You're what? You're registered and you're like enrolled. You see? So all of these don'ts and do's and the politics, the president, someone was a Kalenjin and was telling me, you see, Monica, the president is a Kalenjin. So he wants a Kalenjin to lead the most, the biggest university in Kenya. Like if you become president of the Student Union University of Nairobi, by default you become president of all of them. And your decision is always final. When it comes even to other universities like Kenyatta University, Moi, when you all meet, you have a say as the president of the student from the University of Nairobi. So they were like, President Ruto will want to have someone who is a Kalenjin. I was like, okay, go sleep. It will give you being the president. Others were saying that the administration has an interest, and this administration will have their own. So there are people backing up. But then what I believe I believe in myself, and I don't believe in corruption. When someone has to push my agenda, I don't even know how to start it. Like today, I have communicated to you. I don't have all the full rights now to come and say, because I have access to Nancy, I can just ask her for any favor, in a way that is not right, not the right way to do it. But then because I know I must do this for me, you see, I knew the vice chancellor, I knew the deputy vice chancellor, academic affairs, research, I knew all of them. But from the time I started vying, I all block, I didn't even want to call their numbers, so that they feel like, Monica, she wants favors from me. She wants me to push her agenda. She wants me to rig her in. So even my professor called me, the one who was the head of IEC. If I want to hear anything from the IEC side, I sent one of my team members, can you call and inquire about this? And he sent and called, he called my SGs, like, do we have a problem with Monica? She has never called me from the time of elections, from the time campaign started. And after winning the elections, he called me, Monica, why didn't you reach out to me? I expected you as my friend to at least call me and tell me, Professor, please favor me in elections, get me in. But then I told him it was one of the reasons as to why I vied, because no one will ever tell him what to do. He'll do the right thing. So I told him, if there's anything that motivated me to vie, I knew that it will be my efforts that will get me in. and no one will become the president for being rigged in. All of us, it is the hard work that will get them into that office. That's why I could not even come now. I know your personalities. You're a very strict person. You're not corrupt. So I will not want you to abuse our friendship, and you being my professor and someone who has taught me property law, now come and ask, you're coming from my faculty to come and ask you to do otherwise. So today it remains my great friend and someone who has seen me journey through my leadership, and even the vice chancellor. The vice chancellor asked me when I was being sworn in, Monica, how did you make it? And I was like, people are saying you're the one who put me into being the president. How did you do it? You see, all those were conversation. My people, my country people, like, she's not going to make it. This girl, until to date, no one believes that I made it by my own effort. They were like, University of Nairobi wanted to make a name because they are more, they are like a scholar, like a world-class university committed to scholarly excellence. So what they wanted to do is that being world-class, so they can even have international students ruling them. And I'm like, there has been more than 1,000 international students who have passed through this school. So if they chose me then to actualize them being a world class, then it means I have something in me that any other international student could have. If you guys are saying I didn't work hard, they're like, she went into a sexual relationship with one of the administrators, and that's why she got in.
Yeah.
But what I tell people is, in this world, I have never got disadvantaged or advantaged for being a female. All the things I have achieved, I achieved them because of my hard work and commitment. And there's nothing that has disadvantaged me for being a female, apart from being told not to join school early because I'm a female. But in all the ways I have lived my life, there's no favor. It's always been commitment, being focused, and knowing what you want. And one thing with myself is that if I say I want this, I'll get it. That's one thing I've come to approve, because when I get myself in and I utter that I want to do this, I want to achieve this, I'll achieve it, And that has been the journey of my politics and presidency.
Yeah. Wow. What a story. What I get from there, aside from what you've just shared, it's also the courage. Because a lot of people, um, given what people were saying around, because words can beat you down more than physical. Yeah. And it's so discouraging when everybody's petitioning for you not to go ahead and do something. And for you just to continue to have the courage and wake up every single day that I want to represent international students. I want to represent my country. I want to represent refugees. I want to give a voice. That's all around a lot of courage. And it's amazing what God can do, on how he can lift you just because if someone does not feel that you qualify, but he qualifies you. So that's what I was just thinking while you are talking. I'm like, yes, people might say you don't qualify on paper. You are not a citizen of Kenya. You are an international student. You're not from any tribe from there. You are from South Sudan, which is a country that a lot of us didn't even hear of it, except during history. So having said that, it's just God qualifies you if anybody does not qualify you. So I'm so proud of your journey. It's so beautiful. It's amazing. There's so much to learn from your story. Resilience, oh my goodness, and consistent. Being consistent is such courage as well. Like it's all around just courage. And I'm just so proud of the work that you've been able to do. So what doors does being an international president open for who you're representing for?
When I became the president, I was now leading the students and respective of where they come from. And when you enter office, there are a few of the activities that you will do. One, you'll be in the university senate in all decision making affecting students or affecting even how the university runs. You are you are there with other students representing the interests of students and the voices of students. Again, we also make a budget to run the activities of students. There are activities that we do Like we have events that we carry out just to create a lively campus experience. So like we have our contestants for Mr. and Miss UN. Actually, it was not happening before I brought it my time. And it was one of the biggest, that it was attended by more than 5,000 students. When I became the president, and students, the administration usually say, if you need mobilization and you need people to attend events, just contact Monicah Malith. She will know. She knows how to go about it. And we also, when we make the budget, we allocate bursaries. And when it comes to state engagement with students, I'm also always a representative. Like we do reviews on students' loans and student scholarships. So if you have any media engagement, like there was the new funding model for Kenya, for universities, for institutions of higher learning. So I become a part of that committees. In school events, I speak before the vice chancellor, so I give addresses and students' views and student voices. So I'm almost in running. Okay, I run the university on the student side, and what it has opened up to me was like, I was not so familiar with UN agencies, UNHCR. So,
Yeah.
but this time I attended a training. I don't know how even I got nominated to become one of the students or one of the people taking a 6-month training on leadership, advocacy, and public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So I got myself doing that training with UNHCR for 6 months, but then we didn't have much contact. But then when I became the president, and all of the people are like, there's a refugee vying. So UNHCR reached out, and it has opened many networks, and that's why even we are speaking today. It opened a lot of networks for me. I traveled to Geneva to represent refugee youth leaders. I went to Ghana to attend African Students Forum. I went to Ethiopia to attend the African AU colloquium, student colloquium, alongside the African Heads of States meeting early this year in February. I've traveled to almost East African countries, all of them except two, representing interests of the students, and giving my views on maybe governance and what it means. Because again, if I was a Kenyan today, I should be now thinking on how I get into national politics, you see. So all of that, if you become president of any university in Kenya, you're equally like, you have to engage with politicians. They have to call you. They have activities to do in the university. We have corporate organizations like institutions and industries who come to university, and they only come through you as a student. You're the leeway to them getting to do their activities, maybe their auditions and anything like such. So those are the things I did, and it connected me to a lot of networks, and it opened up conversations around integration of refugees,
Yes.
and how a possibility of, if even a refugee can become a president, one of the most powerful students in Kenya, anything can happen. Even integration could be better.
Yeah.
And even in Pan-Africanism, like if you become an African today and students are leading, people from different countries go to neighboring countries to study, and they still can practice and engage in anything that is related to students. So those are the avenues and the things that I have been able to do for being the president. And it has opened students now, even the one representing international students is someone from South Sudan, of course, and international students have taken up being in political spaces, and that they can practice. Even as a refugee, being a refugee is a status, is not who you are. You're just like any other normal human being. So
Yeah.
at times we dehumanize refugees and feel like they are a certain weak. Of course, at times even when I go to meetings, when my photos are being used on roll-up banners, like there was the center that was launched for refugee resource center at the University of Nairobi. It's my photo being used as a roll-up banner. Like people expect to find me as someone who is like very weakly, someone who is all struggles are seen on her face, and even the way she looks. But then that's not how we should see refugees. This is just situation that exposes them, and it's the status being a refugee. But then you're just normal human beings. And what I tell any other refugee is that you are the one to change the narrative about refugees. It is yourself. Because again, you wake up and you walk normally like other people. You can get to class and being number one and getting grades just like any other. Why will you feel lesser because someone has said you're just a refugee, you know? So all of these things is all about ourselves. Can we speak about our refugees? Can we speak about what they've gone through? Can we let the world know that being a refugee, anyone, like you started the conversation, you said those who are refugees, those who were, those who will be, and in future, all of us, anything can happen. Because again, refugees and being internally displaced are like a lot of things are there is overpopulation. There are places that will population pressure will make them leave their own country. The people will leave because of climate, you know,
Yeah.
natural disasters. It cannot only be conflict like the one we have in South Sudan and other countries that have been a long time refugees, you know. So that's why we have to be very, very careful, and we have to be very considerate when it comes to matters refugees when we treat them. And it's all our role as refugees to know that just like any other normal human being, we have a role to play in telling our stories and in telling people capabilities, not just as a people to disadvantaged or people who are just there as a liability, but then we can even contribute to economic development, even in leadership spaces, even when it's speaking to matters development. So that's what I tell people, and that's what my leadership journey and being president of University of Nairobi had made me realize. Although I knew it, it has amplified, it has actually magnified how I see myself, how I see any other person, how I see any other female, any other person from South Sudan. South Sudan is another country that has a potential, you know. Good can come out in place that people didn't expect, you know. And I'm very happy that I represented my country so well, and
I agree. Yes.
my fellow refugees, and you see, and Kenya as a country that has nurtured me. When I moved from South Sudan to Kenya, I was looking for a place to survive, and I usually say I found a place to thrive. You know, I've been thriving all my life from the time I came to Kenya from standard one all the way to where I have become today. So that I can't be ignorant of.
You are definitely thriving, my dear. Wow. Beautiful said. You are busy. I'm looking at your bio. I didn't even go through the whole thing, guys, just so you know. You're gonna be coming to the UN
Yes,
next week. Uh
yes.
wow. You are so busy. And before I ask you the question I want to ask you, I just want to ask what inspired you to have a gender inclusive community?
Um, in my country, we are still female or women are marginalized when it comes even to education. When you have children, you only think of how your son will get to school, but your daughter, no one thinks of it. And then when I thought through it and when I was looking at the situation, current situation in South Sudan, everyone is still marginalized, both the male and the female gender. You go back to South Sudan and you find young girls, young boys who are not in school. So if we could only work together, both of us who are female and male who have gone to school, to change and to advocate for education, tell people how the importance of education. And this, in a country like South Sudan, doesn't need people to come and say it's the child's right to go to school. You know, I felt like we should take a different approach and say
Mm.
Monica went to school. Everyone is proud of me now. And if I go to any homestead and tell them, it is very important for your girl to go to school, they will know because Monica, one of it is that she still holds on to her value as a female, you know. And if she comes, I go to any house and tell my uncle that education is very important. I need you to take your daughter to school. It could be a very much effective way of advocating for education. Unlike when you now come, maybe UNHCR, UNDP, or any other organization that deals with education comes and tell people that it is the right of your child to go to school, people will be resistant. And we have to understand the dynamics. And one way is by telling our stories. our journeys, our struggles, because at times people might be seeing Monicah as one of these person who never went through anything. She just came, became the president, and she has been having a smooth life. So I
Yeah.
said, if we could tell our stories from the time we lived with relatives, from the time we left the cattle camp, from the time we leave our parents, we left our parents behind to come to Kenya to study, what has been it like? What has been driving me to joining university today? As a university girl, I'm being, the stereotype around me, she's a spoiled person. If she's in the university, she's not married. I'm supposed to marry at the age of at least 16, 17, 18. I should have been to my house, but then I'm not married at this age now. So what are they saying about me? Gossiping. So then how do you keep being in school? That's what inspired me to form gender inclusive community, whereby we can share our stories. We can go back and advocate, talk to girls of the importance of education. And as we speak, it will be a peer mentorship, kinda, because if you come someone earning a lot of money driving, there will be a much gap, and they'll be like, whatever she's saying don't exist in our world. But as Monicah, just from university first year, I formed it when I was in first year, so just from first year, and I'm going back to someone in form 4, they will relate my story and theirs. So that's why I said it will only be effective if we go back as students who are still not earning and don't have money, still struggling, of course, but still finding to come back and tell other students and other people the importance of education and the common challenges that are on the path of achieving greater heights in your education. And then we can really work and change. And actually, I've been having mentees, people I can just call on weekends and we converse, people who confine me and tell me, Monicah, it's been this struggle. It's been a struggle. How did you make it? I want to perform, I want to do this. My academics are deteriorating. I'm not performing in my class. My parents are telling me this. My family is struggling. And the most of the female young girls from South Sudan get married to become solvers of problems to their families. It reached a point when I just completed my high school. I said I'll get married. At least my husband will help maybe in supporting my siblings, take them to school, maybe rent me a house or even build me a house and I stay with my siblings because of losing my dad. But then I realized it is not the only solution. If I go to school, study, and work later, I'll provide much more to my family and I'll solve most of the problems, unlike relying on a man. So that's one of the reasons as to why I formed gender inclusive community with my friend who is also a refugee from Uganda. She's called Ruth.
Wow. No, this is a really important topic that I want to cover in depth. Do you mind just walking us through, as a girl child in South Sudan, what is being told? That you'd never go to school, your role is to get married and have kids, and the boys, what are the different roles that the boys and the girls play?
I'm actually a live example for the same, because when I left, I had been booked by 4 men when I left South Sudan at the age
At
of
12
12.
years old?
Yes. Even if you have a girl of 10 years, someone can just come. When she grows up, I want my son to marry her because of
Oh,
maybe your family line, how they have seen you, how you have lived your life. Are you hardworking from childhood? Are you aggressive? So someone can just come and say, when she grows up to be 15, I'll marry her. So it was just a difference of 3 years to me getting to be married off, at times. So they came to my dad, your girl is very hardworking. She's very aggressive at that young age. We can see that she's going to turn out to be a very strong woman. So when she grows up, my son will marry or I'll marry her. You see. So by the time I was leaving Kettle Camp, the nomadic trolley's life, people even who came to see me when I left, they came to the bus to see to the where I was waiting for the lorry, for the as a truck to come and pick us up. They came and told my dad, how do you let your girl, you are going to have a lot of cows, you're going to be paid a lot of dowries in form of cows, so why do you let your girl go to school? She'll be a spoiled person, you see. So when I left there, I had already, my dad was disappointed in a way because I left. And already you knew that by the end of the year, there were people coming to bid and say, I'm going to offer 100 cows, 200 cows in a hand for marriage. But then here, I'm living for Kenya, you see, and uncertainties of what is going to come next. She's going to be in school, she's going to be big-headed, she's going to know all that, a lot of stereotypes around educated women. I came to Kenya when I was in my, actually, there is a story. If you go back to my social media, a classmate of mine reminded me when I was just trying to highlight my story of how it has, what it has been like
Yeah.
living and what I have achieved so far. And he said, Monica, you remember when some people came to school, they came from US, I think, was it US or Australia? They came and they went to school and say, there is someone who needs Monica at home. She has activities that she will do. So we want her to go. Just, they wanted to adopt me and live with me when I was in class 7. So then my instincts just told me there was something wrong, because the only parent I have who comes to school is my uncle and my auntie. Why are they not the one coming for me?
Uh-huh.
So after the teachers said, okay, she will come later. She has classes now. She will come later in the afternoon for 2 hours and comes back. My instincts were just telling me, no, like, don't go home. I just went and told the teachers strictly, if it is not my parents, because these tutors had already started coming to my auntie, telling her you want to marry her. So then it just clicked on my mind that these people, I know them, yes, but then they have someone who came in to ask for my hand in marriage. Why are they coming here to ask? And this is a common trend. Like, if you don't accept to be married, they can easily elope and go with you. You see. So I said, I'm not going to leave. I stopped going to church. I stopped going to community gatherings. I stopped going to any public gathering. One, because these were places whereby these lost boys will go to churches to look for girls to ask for their hand in marriage. So they will go to church, they will go to maybe traditional dances, and they will go to community gatherings. And from there, they'll just spot you and say, I want to marry her. So I became a victim of that in more than 10 cases. So I stopped going to church.
Wow.
Any community gathering that brings me close to South Sudanese, I changed my husband what I used to, and they used to believe a girl who puts on a trouser is not morally upright. So I started putting on trousers. I started being not associating myself with people. Started having Kenyan friends and walking alone in most cases. And when I come back to school, I'm just indoors studying, going to the library. You see, so because of the many suitors who came and others went back to my family, and uh, my dad was like, my mom is not convincing me, because it's the role of the mother to convince their daughter to accept what they don't want. But then now my mother was supporting me through my education, and she just say, I don't want her to get married, until my dad and my mom weren't communicating for about 5 years. They were not in good communication, they were not in good, like, they were not in good moods, and they didn't like talking to each other, you see. So that's what happens. And there are narratives around girls, because again, there was a time life when I was in class form 4, my final year in high school. There was a time like got so hard that I said I should have just got married and be in one of the places, because there are these lost boys comes and rent houses in Lavington, most of these suburbs in Nairobi, neighborhoods that are so expensive and good, with good securities, good houses. So like, those people who had come to ask for my hand in marriage have their wives here. I find them, they went and get married in the same, uh, of course, in the same town. So you know them, in the people you work with, your friends. Even some of my friends got married to people I rejected. So then I'm seeing them with lives in their dressing, they're flexing, no education. It's just about getting money and dressing up. And every day you have money. And I'm here, there's a time like I could not even find something to eat. See, and I'm like, I almost got tempted. Why didn't I get married? I would just live like any other one living, and it would not be so hard for me. But then I said my education is my voice. And having left South Sudan was an opportunity, and I want to be an example to the rest of the girls that if you go to school, you have to finish what you started, And that's why the only way we can advocate for people coming to school, and parents and people back in the villages feeling comfortable bringing their daughters and their sons to school. And marriage in South Sudan, as a young girl, you're trained on how to impress people so that you can get good suitors, you can get people who come and ask for your hand in marriage. You must have character traits, you know, and everyone must know your life. You must be like a subject like of everyone. Everyone has to talk about you. Everyone has to know you. Everyone has to say, yeah, he or she approves of who you are. That's what you are trained as a young girl from South Sudan, especially from the Dinka community, because I know much more of Dinka, and of course a common trait across the Monjang, the Jiang people, and
So what are some of
that's
the
how it
traits?
is. Like,
Like, could you give us an example of somehow how you need to behave to be more attractive to the suitors?
you must not state what your rights are. If you must told what to do this. It's the time you get married. Okay, accept, get married. You have to do this. Maybe you have to obey your parents. You don't
So
have to
no
put on a
voice.
trouser.
You should not have a
You
voice.
have no voice. You have
Oh,
no
okay.
voice, actually. That is it. You don't have to put on some of the clothes. Like, you cannot put on trouser. Like, I came to put on trouser because I wanted to now to appear as the bad girl, you see. Who didn't listen to people, and who doesn't even have character traits of a good South Sudanese female.
What is the dress code that's acceptable?
In most cases, long dresses
Mm-hmm.
that should not be above your knee,
Oh, wow.
and it should not expose yourself. Like, you put on something like will see you, open dresses and open t-shirts and shirts and vests. You cannot put on a crop top, you know. You cannot put on a trouser. If you have to put on a trouser,
Wow.
it has to be a bulky one. See, okay, there's some. I remember when I was in primary school, you have to have these games kits, you know, that are shorts. I remember my relatives buying for my uncle and my relatives buying for me the games kit that has a wrap up that is wrap. You see, with a skirt on it, then it's short inside. I was in a school that people put on trousers because it was very cold, but then they stick strictly to the dress. I never, when I was in high school, until I finished my primary school, I never even one day put on a trouser. Under all circumstances, it was a dress or a skirt, a dress or a skirt. Until when I joined my Form 2 and started becoming my own self, and I had got a scholarship and trying to advocate for my own rights, and had resisted more than 15 marriages, 10 of them. So people are like, you know, she's not someone who can be, she doesn't listen, she's not a good girl, you see. So I started putting on trousers, and actually ragged trousers. So they know anything that shows your body, you're a spoiled person, you see.
So you wanted to live
So
true
those are the things
whatever
that
they
we
were
do.
saying. So it's like, let me give you, since you said I'm this, let me just give you
Yes,
what
let
you
me
are
give
saying.
you, like, I was actually, I
Yeah.
wanted to drive people off me because I was
Of course.
always the first one. Always if a guy comes from US, I want to marry her. That girl, Monica, like, what's the name of that girl? They'll just spot you in a gathering and say, who is she? Where is she from? Your family. So you go to my academics in primary, in high school, doing so well. My dress code, yeah, with these long dresses and skirts. Does she listen? Yes, she's a very committed and respectful girl. So she's like, I want to marry her. Those are the things they want to hear. They don't want to hear if you love them. There's nothing like love. You'll just grow in them being a wife, you know.
Wow.
But at least most of them get to call me back and say, because I will tell them I'm not marrying you not because I don't love you. I will not marry because I want to study. So most of them call and say, yeah, Monica, we saw what you are telling us. You said you want to study, and this is what actually you followed up with. Um, they get back to me. Some of them are my friends now. No, they're old people.
Wow.
So, and they respect me, salute. When I became the president, they're like, you know, your aggressiveness and the way you used to speak to us, and it was like good.
Wow. Wow. What a journey. What a journey, honestly.
It's
And
a long one, actually. It's a lot. Like, every part of it is
I
very
know we
interesting.
cannot
I just feel
capture
like,
everything in this time that we're sitting down, but I'm just sitting here just trying to understand what the whole story, your whole story. But I mean, you're coming to the UN next week. What
Yeah.
is the agenda?
It's a political forum, high-level political forum, whereby they're going to review the SDGs.
Mm,
And yesterday I had an engagement equally at around such a time. We were speaking on the SDG 16 and evaluation, what should be changed, and what has been a positive, what has been achieved so far from the time it came into force in 2015. And I gave a case scenario on the SDG 16, which focuses on peace and inclusion. When you look at now, as someone who's living in Kenya and who sees Kenyan politics happening on a daily basis, I felt like the SDG 16 and how protests are happening. I read a paper by UNDP when they were
everywhere.
talking about everywhere there are a lot of protests and
Mm-hmm.
what could be happening. One of them is that in Kenya, we just have a time for demonstration for the last 2 weeks. And even yesterday, we had a demonstration in town, and there was nothing happening for indoors in
Mm,
all across Kenya. You see. And then what could be this? How can we achieve the SDG 16 when the president was now called to an interview and he was calling the youth to a conversation.
mm,
So why wait until things go wrong? How can this peace and inclusion be achieved?
mm-hmm.
Peace can only come when I read about peace, other people are different, what peace means to them. Like today, if I have a roof to sleep under, I have peace. If I have a job, a well secure, like a good job, I have peace. Peace comes in different forms, and peace means different to us. But then
Yes.
youth are here in Africa, they're not included. They are seen as people who are like unruly, and people who are not reasonable. So that's how everywhere politicians are treating youth. And if only the youth are not the future, but they're the present. These people come in with different perspectives and different views. They have new energy to
Mm,
even do different things for the countries. They know they're well informed. And I was like, in a case scenario whereby I watch news, some of us get up at 6 a.m. to watch news. What are the politicians saying in the morning interviews? In the breakfast interviews, what are they saying? And they forget that we are watching them. Even on their Twitter spaces, we are following up, we are
mm,
following them on their Instagrams and any other pages. They say anything reckless and we are agitated. And then again, we have media. This media, we use it to mobilize and we turn up. We don't identify to tribes again. That's one thing that is coming out so clearly. Youth are not identifying to tribes and where you come from or political parties. We're just with a common agenda. All of us have a common problem of unemployment or underemployment. Some of us are coming from backgrounds. Some of us have just been for the last 10 years. Some of us struggling to pay their fees. Those who are students, even it's so hard to even get a meal a day. You can only have one a day. This is the common trend we have in the universities. Yet our government is very reckless with how, one, they address us. Number two, with how the critical decisions they make. We should be part of the processes all the way to decision making, and even in the implementation of these policies, and even in the evaluation part of it. But then they feel the work of the youth is to vote them in, and after getting them in, they do what they like, which is not. That's why most of the time these protests will continue coming up, because we are so easily to mobilize. We are very, very good when it comes to holding you accountable. But then we are very, very focused as well. And we know what we want. We know the future that we want. We know all corners. We're very dynamic. We have friends. I have friends from everywhere else. So all of those are what I felt like as a reflection. It should be on youth. If there's anything on SDGs, if it be zero hunger, SDG 1,
mm,
SDG 2, SDG
mhm.
1, poverty, no poverty, you know, all of these have to narrow down to involving youth in every stage, because they are, if here in Kenya now, 80% of the population are youth. So how do you make decisions, the 20%, yet you're not involving youth? So it should, if for anything, I will what I told the UN yesterday and those who are in the meeting is, if we can only be do a new strategy on how youth will be a center of everything else. Can we involve them? Can we speak them? We just not to include one youth, yet we are the majority.
Yeah.
As Monica, I'm the youngest in that team that was there yesterday. But then I'm not the youth alone. We have many of us. So as ministers and government officials are going there in numbers, can we also have numbers going to spaces, discussing issues affecting Africa, affecting the world, and how then do we change them?
Wow. I mean, I can't wait to see you here. We are meeting in New York. I cannot wait to see you here. It's refreshing just to hear you speak, and the representation for the youth, for your country, for Kenya, just all around, even for refugees. It's very impressive and humbling also to just see you go. Your journey is really inspirational in all aspects of it, because starting from humble beginnings to where you are, you're going to be in New York at the UN. You've been to so many countries already representing. Kudos to you, really. Kudos to you.
Yeah,
Be
we were.
proud of yourself, of how
Thank you.
far you've come, because sometimes we don't see our journey. And for me, being an outsider, just listening to you, and I'm sure all of our listeners and viewers can agree just from the little bit that you've shared with us, you are really, truly an inspirational. Your courage just to go forward and represent, to continue to represent, because it's very easy just to go and say, you know what, I don't want to do this. I don't want, which you've had those moments, but you came back and just say, you know, I have a duty to my people, to myself. Really, really proud. Really, really proud. What does peace mean to you?
And for someone who comes from a conflict background, peace will mean to me the serenity that there is no war, uh, um, uh, um, treating people right, because wars comes when others want to take advantage of the rest. So if you treat someone right, you know, the wars will not be there. And there was a time I was almost going crazy thinking about South Sudan until late, I've just said, calm down, focused on your stuff now and focused on some of the things and leave South Sudan. Now, of course, it's in my mind. There was a time I would wake up even in the middle of the night and just write.
It's a passion. It's a
and
passion.
then I'm like, you know,
Your home. Yeah, it's a
yeah,
passion.
it's
It's your home.
I'm a proud South Sudanese, you know, of course. If today I usually tell myself, if I was to go back to my mother's home and I will be asked where to be, I'll still be a South Sudanese. Of course, I'm very proud of there's this thing in you that is inbuilt about your country. So we love our country, and I love my country so much. So peace to me will mean that we live in harmony with no distress, no chaos, at least understanding and treating people with humanity. You see, humanity is the biggest thing for me. And again, the peace that we need is a peace of whereby if we feel respected, meaningfully involved, meaningfully engaged, as a youth, I'll say that peace, that will mean peace. Because now what I'm thinking about, okay, like someone who's living here in Nairobi, they are no worse. So what am I thinking about? If every decision making as a youth, we should be represented as a youth. We should be in spaces. We should get jobs. So I will only have peace if I have jobs. If I have a job, other fellow youth are having jobs. If we have platforms that our voices are listened to, that peace will meet me currently. Yeah.
Wow. What advice do you have for maybe students or individuals that may have faced similar challenges and obstacles? There's a lot of refugees all over the world. And despite your educational or leadership journey, what advice would you give just to keep going?
Okay, in people in spaces like mine, on public face and everyone throws anything against you. Anyone can just have okay, one thing that a right of whenever you get into public space, it's like the right of the public to say and do whatever they want with you. It feels so. The only way you can overcome it is by understanding yourself. Who are you? What are your principles? Can you discern between what people are saying and what is rightfully, what is right about you? Can you define yourself? Can you define your own story? Can you define your future? I like when people just look at you because again, you're on public spaces, public face. So I have managed to overcome this because I understand myself better than anyone else. And as much as you look at me, you listen to my stories, you don't understand me. I understand myself more than you do. And as much as you look in my face and how I'm dressed, you can judge me by that, but then I know myself better. So in anyone in public space, just like I do, I will tell you that know yourself, understand yourself, know your limitations, and know your strength. Also get to confine. For me, it's getting so hard to confine in people because people be like, I have lived a life where I'm always the cornerstone, I'm the strength, I'm the strongest, I have solutions to all problems. So if I run to someone, it happens that when I go to people for solutions, they don't get to understand me. Like even you, Monica, that's the question. And it manifested itself so much when I lost my dad. I expected people to understand that I have lost my dad, someone who brought me to this world, and they should at least know I'm hurting. When people are telling me, Monica, you're strong, you can overcome this. There's nothing stronger than you do, you know. And I was like, that's when I resorted to being to myself. But in public space, you have to have mentors, people who mentor you, people who tell you what to do, people you can confide in, people you can cry to.
Yeah.
So, but my boyfriend becomes someone I confide in who understands me. But the rest just sees the strong Monica with all the strengths. She can do anything. Monica, there is nothing that can defeat her. If you need solutions, go to her. But then there's no one I go to. So get someone, as someone in public space, to talk to and confide in. And know that you're not the strongest. You have your own weaknesses. And even I tell people who look up to me that Monica is not the strongest girl that I can speak with a lot of strength. In my voice, you can detect strength. On my appearance, and even in my dress code, you can detect strength. But then I have my own weaknesses. So don't kill yourself trying to punish yourself that I'm not being like Monica. You see, and Monica is doing this better than I do. No, I have my own weaknesses that you can't see them because I have become the president, and she's going to UN, she's going to New York, she has gone to these countries. She's so active. She's being involved here. But I have my own weaknesses. At times it gets so hard to get up in the morning, because I felt the same pressure when I used to say, you're my role model. I don't even know your struggles. I see you as the perfect you, 100%. There's nothing that can defeat you. But then I came to realize I was doing injustice to myself because if I'm not performing like you do, and I have my weaknesses that are only manifesting to me and not to you, I feel like I'm not good enough. So I just felt like I'm slowing down on how I look at role models and how I perceive them. Because again, if you find students greeting me there and big people be like almost, no, Monica, this Monica. And if I come back home, I'm like, this bold Monica, this me. Like with all these weaknesses, with all these struggles, people are some to understand everyone has a weakness. No one is strongest. Everyone have their own setbacks. Everyone has their own struggles in life. So for my people looking up to me, anyone who sees like as a young girl looking up to Monica, know that I have my own weaknesses and struggles. And for refugees, and for people struggling in life, people coming from very humble backgrounds, if I could make it, if I have made it, you can also make it. It's all about what you believe about yourself. Can you get up every day, uh, having to know what you want to do, what you want to achieve? There are times that even I do not want to look at my watch for me to know what I should do next. Things used to come. I used to wake up. When I say I wake up at 4, I'll wake up exactly at 4. So all of these things happen because of understanding your background. Never forget your background, where you came from. If any case, talk to your family members. Visit home if you can. Know where you're coming from. Know what people will say. like hear them. Those stories are very, very important. That's why it's very important never to forget your background. That's what, like, if there are things that resonate with me, is that never forget where you came from, because it gives you a new energy every day. Knowing that people are looking up to you, you have a new energy to do better, and a responsibility to prove a point, to people who are like, there's nothing impossible. So that's what I can tell them. Yeah, it's much I can say, but then those are the few things I identify currently with. And if I get any gathering, I will get young people looking up to me. I tell them, know yourself, know that I have my own weaknesses, believe in yourself, know your past. It's all about your energy, put in a lot of energy and commitment, resilience, all those kind of character traits that pushes someone forward.
Listen, I can sit here listening to you. You are so motivational. It's beyond. The future, all the youth, guys, please, the youth, for parents listening to this, I beg you, please share this with your children. This is so inspirational. I'll share this with my own children when they become of age. Even my daughter, I'll share. She's 9. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I can talk to you forever. Thank you so much for being here. Oh my goodness. I'm so motivated. And your story, you are truly a definition of transformative power of education and the resilience of human spirits in the face of adversity. It truly speaks to you. Like when I saw that in your bio, it really speaks to you. Having you share a little bit of your story with us here, and it's just so evident that you are a powerhouse all around. Yeah, thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you for having me. Looking
It's a,
forward to
such an
seeing you on
honor.
14th.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see you in person. Like, oh my
Yes.
God.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much.
Guys, oh my God.